This episode of Shootin' The Shiznit is brought to you by 80stees.com, the leading online retailer of licensed t-shirts. They specialize in retro movie, music, TV shows, video games, comic books, wrestling, and cartoon t-shirts. So how can you help us and also buy cool t-shirts? Well, we want you to go to tinyurl.com/STS80stees. That's right. That's tinyurl.com/STS80stees. Go there, buy some t-shirts. We get a kickback. They don't cost you no different. Now to the show.
Have you listened to episode 77? Best Shiznitter Ever Championship 2017. Here's a clip. Download it. Listen to it now. Time is up. It's your time, Greg Anthony, the Golden Boy. Twitter controversy. We've had a few Twitter controversies in the last week. Now, tell us about the next Twitter controversy. What will it be about, and who will it be about? You have 75 seconds.
Well, I think the next Twitter controversy should be about Twitter itself. I mean, look, Twitter has been basically unopposed for all the years. You know, Twitter has a little birdie, little blue birdie. What if the little blue birdie had to go against the Red Rooster? That's right, Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor has decided to finally embrace the Red Rooster character, the character that he loathed so much in the WWF 30 years ago. And what he's done is he's scraped together all this money from all this time working in the offices of WCW and WWE and all the friends that he's made, and he's going to give Twitter a run for its money. So he creates the Red Rooster universe, and he wants everyone to come over there and start, basically, try to put Twitter out of business. And in order to put Twitter out of business, you got to have controversy. So all those guys that have been on fire lately with their Twitter controversies, now they'll have Red Rooster controversies. We'll get Michael Elgin, we'll get Donald Trump, we'll get everybody that's making headway this week, and we'll get them on the Red Rooster universe, because that's what Terry Taylor's trying to do. He's trying to show everybody that, he was a tailor-made man at one point, but now he's finally doing what most of us remember him by, and that's the Red Rooster.
All right.
And he's trying to make it convenient.
Time is up. I could just see the little Red Rooster instead of the Twitter. Hey, I want to welcome everyone to episode 78, live from STS Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for downloading and listening to us today. It's a Wednesday. We're a day late, and I'm not sure the plans for rest of the week. We also have a new episode coming up. I do know next Tuesday. As always, we're available at www.stspod.club, all the archives. You can go to Cool Kids Wrestling MMA Talk Facebook group. Join it. Ask to join it. If you act like an ass, we'll kick you out. This show's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, Pod Paradise, Spreaker. A big shout out to Suplex City Limits, Creative Control, Who's Right Podcast, and Keeping It 100 has turned into my favorite wrestling podcast, Conan, JoJo, and Disco over there. One of the best wrestling podcasts they put out. I'm at Comic Book Mark BT on Twitter there. We do all the announcements of the contest, everything right there on Twitter. We also have our big merch, which has t-shirts. It has a little bit of everything. Go buy it. We even have a 505 t-shirt that we just recently put out. That's tinyurl.com/STSPodMerch. All right, guys.
And she says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool.
All right, we're here for the Cool Kids Countdown. That's right, it's me, BT. One of those great duos of podcasting or the world, great world duos like Batman and Robin, or Ricky and Robert, or Stan and Steve, or hell, Stan and Bobby, Doug and Anthony, and for those old timers, Abbott Costello and Laurel and Hardy. Today, At 1:30 in the morning, no matter what time you're listening to this, you got BT and my co-host, Lance LeVine. And how the hell are you, Lance?
I like Heckle and Jekyll. How about them? That's
Shit,
one of my
I
favorite
forgot.
duos. So, hey, we're live here from the brand new Sixlets studio in Chicago. Sixlets, our new sponsor in Chicago, the candy from the 30s, making a big comeback.
I heard it was. Making a huge comeback. And we are sponsored tonight here in St. Louis, Missouri by KY Jelly.
Perfect. On toast. I love it.
No, that's the wrong jelly, man. That's KY, you know.
Well, I don't know. I've tried it before. It hasn't been too bad. But
all right. Tell everyone, first of all, Happy New Year to you, cunt.
Happy New Year, my BT brother. and to all the listeners out there in Radio Land.
What are we going to do?
We are doing, through the magic of podcasting, we're going to do the top 10 news stories of 2017, because I think we recorded this on Boxing Day or something. I don't remember what it was for our Canadian listeners. But anyway, we have the top 10 stories from last year.
Sounds awesome. And we don't want to be a huge cliche, because there's going to be a lot of people doing something of sorts of this. But I'm really hoping
that
we've got to,
we got to be the first, because Pro Wrestling Illustrated will have this in May, So
right, the May issue, and then Dave always has his awards in February, which always used to piss me off. So here we go.
Be the first. So anyway, as we normally do, the stories that didn't quite make the top 10, that the honorable mention stories, as it were. Yours, I don't get it. You had in your top 10 that didn't make the cut was the shittiness of Randy Orton matches. I'm like, there's guys like Enzo and Mojo Rawley, the future of the business, and other shitty wrestlers out there. And I don't know how Randy Orton is the one you single out.
It's all the big matches he had, all the shitty big matches. I think that I'm
boring. But how is that a news story?
I think it was. I think listeners will disagree with you on that, because almost every pay-per-view we said he had a shitty match. So
boring, not shitty. But anyway, and my top 10, the ones that missed the cut, were the Hardys coming to WWE and pretty much flopping almost immediately and doing nothing with them.
See, I didn't agree with that, because I thought they did good until we had the injury. So
they didn't do much of anything. They had the huge pop at WrestleMania, and that was really about it feels like to me. And honestly, I think they're pissing away the woken, broken, spoken, whatever the fuck it's called now. Undertaker retiring, I think that was a bigger story than we made mention of. And also, of course, the mumps/meningitis scare that JoJo and Bray Wyatt and Roman and Bo Dallas and many others fell victim to, that they had to rearrange shows, and fucking AJ Styles had to fly in from Neptune or whatever to make that pay-per-view. So those were the stories that didn't quite make our top 10 of news stories for 2017. So shall we get started?
Well, yeah, and I just want to make a note. I think the Undertaker thing, the reason we didn't actually put it in there was because we probably don't believe it's going to happen. So, we'll probably see him this year. And that's
we'll
what
see.
I think. Yeah. I think that's probably part of it.
We'll see. So at number 10, we had the Jinder Mahal experiment.
I love that. It sounds like it really was like a science experiment,
Yep.
The Jinder Mahal experiment. And remember, guys, we're going to do this in rapid fire, 1 minute and 30 seconds, as close as possible. And here's the deal. Jinder Mahal, to me, I wasn't the biggest hater. As you know, I was a huge hater of, and that's one thing about Randy. I think that I'm a big fan of Randy's, and I just thought he had shitty matches. With Jinder, I was not a big fan, yes or no. Jinder did just a really cool, way before he become popular and, pushed to the max with Colt Cabana. And I thought as a person he was fun to listen to, and I guess that's what I kept wondering, whether we was going to have the Jinder on Colt Cabana. But unfortunately, that Jinder doesn't exist anymore. He is just a huge, and they talked about this on the Conan show, about his appearance changing, and the breast, the acne, the big forehead, and how, we all know he's on something. But, if he could have had bigger matches and people would have believed him, I think that's the failed experiment of it all, is that I was always saying, well, he was getting a reaction. I liked the Singh brothers. I actually love that act. And I just liked the whole thing together, but it just did not get over. And talk about a flop. Now, they go to India, and he does a job for Triple H, which made no sense whatsoever. So yeah, Jinder the failed experiment.
The Jinder Mahal experiment, like you mentioned, it's like literally a lab experiment because they pumped him so full of steroids. And I'll tell you what, if there a scandal ever comes out of that, it'll be delicious to see various people from the hierarchy go down on this because it's just disgusting. I mean, we've all been fans of guys that are on the juice before, like Rock, and guys that can go. And that's the difference. We'll tend to, as fans, we'll tend to look the other way when it's one of our guys that can actually wrestle and do shit in the ring. Jinder could never do anything in the ring. He sucked in the ring before as a jobber. He was elevated from a jobber, to all of a sudden world champion, and they wasted that belt on him for 6 months. And I think that's why there's all that animosity towards Jinder, is because he couldn't do promos. He couldn't wrestle. He was just a glorified jobber that just never deserved the spot that he had. The ultimate insult is the fact that they, not only did they put the belt on him for as long as they did, but then when they do go to India for that aborted tour, they did one show, and then, like you said, Triple H beat him. So the whole thing was just a complete flop. I see him as no better than mid-card now, and just how gross. I think he went from an A cup to a B cup before our very eyes. It was just disgusting. So Jinder Mahal, we can't look the other way on him because he just couldn't do anything in the ring. So the Jinder experiment was number 10. At number 9, we have the debacle that is TNA wrestling.
With this started up, we had it seems like every few months I go, okay, they're doing something new, they can't fail or whatever. And me, you, and Randy Smith and the Cool Kids group seem to be the 3 fans that are going to stay there. I actually don't watch it while it's on. I download it or DVR it, and but I do still watch it. I thought they still had at least usually one good match per show, and I still like some of the talent. But then you had guys like Jarrett, Bruce Pritchard, Jim Cornette, all these guys, Dutch Mantel. Those 4 guys are wrestling people. They're wrestling guys, and they could not put on a good product. We did see a good. The thing about Jim Cornette is you can hate all you want to on his co-host, or him, whatever you want to hate on, but when it comes to performance in the ring, he's still one of the best ever. He actually, came in, did some interviews, one with Conan that I absolutely loved, but then it just, and I've said this before, but there's a core of people that are going to watch this show, and it's not going to matter whether it's shit or whatever. It's going to take someone like, I don't know, hell, Hulk Hogan or something like that to actually show up for TNA for more people to watch it. There's like 250,000 people watching it, and that's it. I mean, that's the average, and that's all we're going to see.
Yeah, it's just a broken record with TNA. I like to refer to them as having the anti-Midas touch because everything they touch turns to shit every year. And, every year we go into this. At the end of the year, we start talking about, the new regime that's coming in, and hopefully they get their shit together. I wish that's the thing. Like Meltzer has the reading as your friend t-shirts. We need shirts that say, let's hope that this is the year that TNA gets their shit together. This will be the year TNA gets their shit together. They had Jarrett come in and out for a cup of coffee that didn't last at all. The one time that they had something kind of going good was when Corgan almost bought it, and they had some good storylines, some good things were going on, and they just didn't do anything with it. They didn't end up selling it to them. It's disappointing because every year they come so close to possibly having some good shows, and then it just goes right back in the toilet again. It's just like 1 step forward, 2 steps back with TNA. So, and now with this, they still have some talent. We say the same thing. Lashley, Rosemary, Sami Callihan now, John Morrison is there. So once again, they've got some great talent. Let's see that, God willing, that 2018 is the year that they actually get their shit together. And they're starting this network that they've started a couple months ago, and they'll show clips on the show of some of the past shows, and it's just sad watching some of the great shit that they had 10 years ago, with Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe and Angle and all the great matches that they're showing clips of. So at number 9, once again, is the debacle that is TNA. So at number 8, we have the overall category of women's wrestling in 2017.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing with women's wrestling in 2017 is we was able to see the first time ever, and I know you're going to hate for me to say this again, but it's the first time ever, birth control patch in a tournament. Yes! Mae Young tournament was awesome. I give all the credit to the Mae Young tournament, number one to Triple H, but also to Dave Prazak over there at Shimmer. He helped provide a lot of talent, and it's not like we haven't had great women's wrestling in the business for a while. It's the idea that the WWE is actually giving them a chance to showcase in the big matches. I was not a huge fan of the big matches that they had, but I was a huge fan of the Mae Young Classic because I was actually able to see a lot of the girls that have never watched before. I've even went out of my way to go, YouTube and such and watch, Tony Storm and some of them, and have plans to watch some Stardom coming up just because some of those girls are over there working their asses off. And the thing about it is, I'm not excited about the Royal Rumble coming up because I hate the Royal Rumble match anyway, but I will push the fast forward button so I can see each one of them that comes out and see if they have any surprises. But yeah, women's wrestling is probably higher this year than it has ever been because they have been able to feature in those gimmick matches.
Yeah, it really took on a higher profile this year. And like you said, there's been great women wrestlers in the past, but, this year they got the forum between the Mae Young Classic, the Money in the Bank, or Money in a Bank, or whatever the fuck it is, Hell in the Cell. But what gets me is how WWE acts like, they've just emancipated women, and women just got the right to vote. And, women are allowed to sit in any seat of the bus that they want to, so they're acting like they have freed the women, So they're making it's going to be the Stephanie McMahon, is going to be going in the Hall of Fame this year because she made the women all that much more special. So, but what I think is really different this year, what I will say, is that now they finally have enough women on the roster that can actually wrestle. There was always one or two back in the day. There'd always be Lita or Trish Stratus or, there'd be a woman always on the roster, Medusa, that could always go. But they've made that's one thing that they have done is they've made an effort to get at least enough good workers that they can actually have a legitimate women's division. And that's how they're getting this forum to get, some of these main event matches. So that I'll give them credit for that. They've at least hired a big enough roster that they can pull it off decently. And, yes, we still have our share of Dana Brooke and Lana, and garbage like that. But at least they've got the Sashas and the Asukas that can actually go. And, I was thinking, I wonder, with so many pay-per-views and so many specials that they do throughout the year on the network, what would be the harm in doing an all-women's pay-per-view? Could it be feasible to do an all-women's pay-per-view for them just as an experiment and see how it does? I think it could possibly work if you just throw away, the mid-September pay-per-view and just have it be women from both rosters. I think they could actually make that work. So women's progress in 2017, story number 8 on our top 10. At number 7, we have ROH and the Indies.
ROH and the Indies. I mean, ROH had its biggest year ever, and so I really wanted to make sure we put that over. Hell of a roster as always. They lost some people, but still kept on. I think indie wrestling is, how long will it be hot is a question with me, because there's so much talent. I thought it was funny that I actually started looking at some of the cards from the southern part of the United States where I used to cover on a weekly basis, and it seems like all their shows are still drawing, maybe 100 people at the most, and some of them, I think someone said 33 was in the crowd at one of the shows. But then you have all these other shows in the Chicago area, St. Louis area with Glory Pro that I went to, and not only... and we'll talk about match quality, but I also noticed that you had anywhere from 400 to 600 people in a building just packed with so much action. They were taking guys that you would not really Elgin and top guys in New Japan, top guys in Lucha Underground, and they're doing all the indie top guys, putting them at the top of the card, and then you get to see some of the local guys, but mainly it's people coming out to see the stars, and hopefully they can keep some of the crowds when they just have the local guys. But indie wrestling's hot now, people being able to make money, which is a cool thing, and ROH surprised everybody. Really, they had I think I can't remember the number because Meltzer's actually talked about it, but there was, I think, 23% increase in crowds this past year. Still not, they're distant number 2, but the idea is that people were wanting to go out there and see something different, and that's why I've always supported TNA, because there's something different. Yeah.
You said you went to a Glory Pro show?
Yes, I went to the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. How did Elgin smell?
No. Jeff Cobb was at the second one, and I wasn't there, and I wasn't able to smell him. But,
I bet Elgin smells like spam, or
Oh well, I did. I did shake Elgin's hand, but I really didn't smell him. So
he smelled like pot roast. I'm thinking pot roast. I think he smelled like pot roast or squirrel or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, all right. So ROH and the Indies. I think what's really interesting, you kind of referenced it, is ROH continues to lose guys, and they had their best year ever. Their roster remains strong. They lose Adam Cole, Bay, because I think I have to say that legally. I'm required to say it that way. They lose Red Dragon, and they continue to lose guys, and they continue to thrive, and they have their best year ever. They prospered this year. They're great booking and just great call-ups. They have great guys that they keep on bringing up. So another thing that's really interesting to me about them is that, or not so much ROH, but just in general, Cody walks away from, hundreds of thousands of dollars in WWE and on a whim to try to make it on the indies, and makes it work. And I'm really impressed with the way he's worked his ass off to make it to the level he has, to be the cult hero that he is right now. Neville, I'm not sure what his contract status is, but before you know it, he'll probably show up on the indies. Austin Aries, I don't know, did he get fired? Did he quit? Whatever the case may be. But it just goes to show that the indies are doing so well that these guys feel comfortable walking away from the big machine. And it's pretty cool to see these guys making a good living without having to do the WWE grind, So it's awesome that the indies are doing so well and that ROH is doing so well. Really happy for ROH to see it making inroads into the scene in the States. And like you said, the indie scene itself is huge. I got freelance here that I go to monthly. AAW, which I don't go to in Chicago, is moving to a new venue in Chicago, which is going to make it even easier for me to get to them. So it's so much good stuff to choose from. So the people that are bitching and moaning about there's no good product today, we once again have no time for you. So at number 6, we have the train wreck that is Paige.
Okay. Since it is a train wreck as Paige, I got something for you. Just hold on just a second. Listen.
And that is, I'm back.
One more time.
I'm back.
Oh, don't you just love it, Lance? Don't you just love it?
If I got to hear that one more time, I'll put a gun in my mouth. I swear to God, I can't stand her.
Speaking of things in your mouth, Paige is number 6, and the reason Paige is number 6 because we're sleazy and we don't give a shit. Okay, Paige made huge news, and I think the part of it was I was intrigued by it. I loved it. It was a National Enquirer of professional wrestling. It was her and ADR. By the way, shout out to JoJo and them on Conan. ADR was on there, and Conan wasn't scared to ask the right questions. I thought they did a great job with that. Paige came out with a bunch of videos, and if you haven't seen them, do a search. She's a very talented girl, in and outside the ring, if you know what I mean. And anybody that can shoot dildos out your ass like that deserve to be top in the wrestling business in 2017. Now, I say that, so I'm waiting for, I don't know, Enzo might do that next, and he'll be top of the business. But and we know Enzo listens to the pod, so, he'll be shooting things out of his ass now. That went really bad real quick.
That's soft.
But Paige,
that was soft.
Didn't you tell me she released some new stuff recently? That's what Lance told me. And I promised everyone that I thought to myself that it would be bad if I didn't go on the website and take a look at the new stuff.
Yeah, you're just doing research.
Research
for the show. Yeah.
And as usual, she did not disappoint me. Paige, I'm glad she's back. I think she's a little bit above some of the other girls that's there, a little bit below, but she's also better than the jobbers that they use. And she's entertaining. She was for like 3 weeks, and then they fucked her after that. Not literally. Well, somebody probably did, but I don't think it was Triple H and them. So go to Paige. I know you got great things to say about her too.
I have been shaking my head for the last 2 minutes while you've been rambling about Paige. She is, first off, she's so much more trouble than she's worth. She is the biggest train wreck. I can't imagine working with this woman. So, A, she's not good looking at all. I'm sorry. She's a pasty-ass bitch that just makes Sheamus look like he's got a suntan. She's average ring.
I'm sorry, but I thought you were going to make Sheamus look hot, so I thought you were going with that. So
that's probably more your type, except he's way too white for you. You're more of a moose guy. I know you. But yeah, I would say barely average at best in the ring. Maybe at one point a couple of years ago when she first debuted, she was a little bit better than what they had on the roster at the time. But now, forget about it. She's average at best. So looks-wise, no. Pastiness, no. Work rate, no. Promos, oh my God, you heard that tape earlier. Just their nails on the chalkboard. And all I got to say about this chick is that she's got to be whoever runs PR in WWE that has to fucking fix everything after her. He's got to be sitting around like always with Paige. Whenever Paige is around, he's got to be saying, I got to fix what now? What'd she do this time? You know, it's like I can't imagine the job that it must be to fucking fix everything after she fucks it up. So I really, honestly, I have no ill will towards her. I hope there's no wrestling tragedy that becomes of Paige. But I see, you know, if she had stayed with ADR, it would have gone that way. So hopefully she gets her shit together and she becomes a halfway decent human being. But right now, man, what a fucking train wreck.
All right, that was number 6. So it's time for a commercial. We'll be right back after the commercial. Spend a moment to talk about the controversial ending to Who Wants to Be the Best Shiznitter Ever Championship 2017. Guys, I cannot believe I'm announcing this, but it was a tie. That's right, a tie. When we do the Shiznit Council, we actually have an odd number of people that are voting, and this never happens. I opened up the voting for everyone that listened to the show. We had a record number, almost 6,000 people listening to that show. Everyone voted that wanted to vote, which was a small amount, but they did vote. But we ended up with a tie. So coming sometime here in January, we're going to have the best ever. Yes, that's right. Who Wants to Be the Best Ever Championship? And we're going to have to do it one more time. That's right. We're going to have to do the championship again with Matt and Golden Boy. We will do it with the council-only voting with an odd number of people, and we will determine the winner then, this month sometime. Also, I want to say a big shout-out, and we didn't even announce this on Twitter yet, but the big winner for the contest, the 5 words, was my buddy Ed. That's right. We had a bunch of people vote, send in stuff. Some people didn't have the right answer, and the people that didn't have the right answer, I'm okay. We had special word where the word was special. One of them was, when did Danny Adams start to train? That was 2014. When did I say the Santa Claus was released? I said it was 74, which was wrong. And we also had, when did Gene Jackson during that episode say that, where did they say Neil was booking a show at? That was in Ripley. And the other word was icon. And Ed, you got them all right. There were some people that didn't get them right. But I put your name in with everyone else, drawed it out, and we'll be sending. Ed will be posting a picture up there on Twitter and showing us what he won. So let's get back to the show. All right, we're back after the commercial with my co-host Lance LeVine, and the crowd goes wild. Hey, Lance, we're at number 5. So give us what was number 5.
At number 5, I'm sorry, but I got to bring us down just a tad. But at number 5 were some of the deaths that we encountered in 2017.
All right, yeah. You know, I've mentioned this actually on the Lance episode and some of the groups there. I really didn't think, you know, some of the major names like Dusty Rhodes and Piper and a bunch of others. Snuka died this year, but when the big names die, it's just I find myself more touched by big names that die, like in the music industry, than I do wrestling business. But this one, you know, with Bobby the Brain, not as huge fan because he mainly was in New York. But with Lance Russell, that was tough for me. It was like a guy that, you know, I guess from 1978 to, into the 90s, until the time that he left the show, that I was a fan and he was there every Saturday. So it's kind of weird seeing someone like that die, and it was looking back, it kind of silly to think that I took a day off work for a guy that I never knew, but it bothered me more than any of the other deaths that had happened in professional wrestling. So yeah, we hope nothing major happens in 2018, and Lance will be missed, and all you have to do is go to YouTube and listen to him, though.
Yeah, I think, like you said, unfortunately, every year, it's just the nature of the beast. Every year we encounter certain deaths, and certain ones hit harder. Like, I think it was the year that we started Cool Kids that we lost Dusty and we lost Piper. This year, it was different in the sense that you had arguably the two best ones in their field pass away. So you had Bobby Heenan, who the argument could be made was the best manager in wrestling of all time. And you had Lance Russell, who was, in many's opinion, the best announcer of all time. So I think those hit hard because of that, because they were just so well liked, and you never really heard a negative word about either one of those guys in the industry. Like you said, we also had Snuka, which was a huge story in the sense that, what an ugly trail went behind him as far as like the National Enquirer type news that followed him. And then, of course, we had the Ric Flair scare in the sense that he was laid up and he was literally on his deathbed for quite some time before hopefully he pulled through. And what I thought was really interesting about the Flair illness was the fact that he's a really polarizing guy if you get down to it. Everybody respects what he did in the ring and considers him one of the greatest of all time. But there's also a lot of people out there that hate Ric Flair and that have grudges against him for various things, whether it's the drinking, the women, whatever, the blowing through money, the hitting on Alicia Fox in front of TR and shit like that. So, there's a lot there's a lot of things about Ric Flair that people didn't like. But what I thought was interesting was the fact that all of that was set aside when the man nearly died. And you only heard well wishes and people hoping for the Nature Boy to get better. So hopefully he is better and on his feet again, and we don't have to go through this coming year. And like you said, hopefully in 2018 we don't lose any of the all-time greats like we did in 2017. So at number 4, we have Alpha versus Omega and just New Japan expansion in general.
Awesome. Before we go any further, just think about this now. When I die and you think that, or when I'm close to death, you think everyone's going to say good things about me, Lance? Or will they continue to say he's an asshole?
No, I think they'll say nothing but good things about you. You cook the best possum stew in St. Louis.
Only available at 317. No, I better not give my address. I have some death threats here. All right, so speaking of Alpha versus Omega, I got to say how much I love this. I remember Jericho coming in and having to have the matches with AJ, and I was kind of pissy about that. But then something you think about, AJ is so fucking still over now compared to some of the other people that they bring in, and they mess up. So maybe, just maybe Jericho rubbed off on him there. And I think it's awesome. I think the whole build-up for Alpha versus Omega, I even want to go get one of the shirts. And I think it's going to be old school match. I think it's going to be a good brawl. We're probably going to see some blood from both guys. I don't think we're going to be disappointed. There's going to be some people out there, especially if there's plans for the future, you'll probably see Omega doing the job or something, a big, huge angle afterwards. And there'll be people bitching and moaning about that, but all power to Jericho. Jericho has made himself relevant no matter what. He's always, either it's because of the band, or he's got his podcast network, or he's doing something for a television show. Man, I can nothing but like Jericho. I even went back and watched Jericho's stuff, and me and you talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on one of the podcasts, but we did. I did inbox you. I went back and watched the stuff with Shawn Michaels again. Just so fucking good. And then you just fast forward the stuff with Owens. It's almost like Jericho will, no doubt about it, be one of the best ever. So, and that's what part of it that I really enjoy.
I think early on you referenced wrestling fans bitching and moaning. Is that a thing? Wrestling fans bitch and moan about stuff?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. Anyway, on this one, yeah, Alpha and Omega, just what a hell of a job of promoting it they've done. They leaked out stuff on Twitter, just really deliberately put out little things, little jabs between them here and there. And the next thing you knew, there's Jericho in the ring in New Japan. And people were completely stunned by this, you know? I mean, they did such a good job. He is the master of covering his tracks and not letting the fans know what's going on with him. So his contract with WWE had expired. I think everybody just took it for granted that he was always there. He was going to be a WWE lifer, you know, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, well, he's out of contract and he can do whatever the hell he wants, you know. So really big kudos on all involved, Don Callis and everybody else that's involved in this whole thing, because they did a hell of a job with this promotion and they've got everybody licking their chops to see this match tomorrow night. I really appreciate also New Japan's business approach this year, the very gradual expansion into the States and very deliberately doing it. You know, the Long Beach shows, the network itself, the relationship with Access TV, having just enough guys go to ROH and make appearances on ROH shows to get to whet the appetite of the fans. So I think they've done a hell of a job understanding what the business is and what business there is for them to be had in the States. They're never going to be WWE. They're never going to be the number one promotion in the States because of the language barrier. But it's almost like they haven't made a misstep. You know, I mean, yes, it would be nice if the network was a little bit easier to navigate and understand in English. But, I mean, aside from that, there's really very little that you can complain about with New Japan. I think they've done a hell of a job in their very gradual expansion into the States. And I think by this time next year, we'll easily be saying they're the number 2 promotion in the United States. So at number 3, we have the Young Bucks, the merchandise of the Young Bucks, and the Bullet Club resurgence.
Yeah, I mean, the only Cool Kids Countdown that I did not do that you did by yourself with Jim Vicious, you guys made fun of the Bullet Clubs. We made fun of the Bullet Club and Cool Kids group, how it was you know, almost 2 or 3 years old. It was almost like it was turning into the NWO, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, you know, it's moreover, I've got 2, I guess I've got 2 shirts that say Bullet Club on them. One says Villain Club. I've got pajama pants. I mean, you can get all this shit at Hot Topics, which to me, Hot Topics, that's like Sonics and Walmarts, but Hot Topic, and that's the Young Buck, not the Young Bucks. No, Young Bucks getting that contract with Hot Topic was huge to me. I remember saying this is a big, big fucking deal. And being made fun of, what's Hot Topic? It doesn't mean, well, it got them over so big, and got them money that they don't have to work WWE if they don't want to. I mean, they said they sold, last quarter, the number was 400, almost 500,000 T-shirts. And we said, you know, if they made $1 per, probably made more because when it comes to some of them, they make like $7 a shirt. So we're talking huge bucks for them, just bucks. Get it? Just
huge bucks.
Yeah, I mean T-shirts. You go through High Topic. I remember JoJo saying something that he tried to get one of the Alpha shirts for his dad just recently. Walked through at Hot Topic and it's sold out. The last time I went in, they didn't have anything but small. I mean, they know all wrestling fans are fat. So what the hell, except for you. One of these days it's going to catch up. But yeah, Bullet Club's over. It has a lot to do with the way that the Young Bucks have done it and the way, you know, you're looking at Cody and Marty and all those guys combined that they've made such a great group.
Yeah, I think what they've done is the one name that we keep forgetting when it comes to making the Bullet Club cool again is Omega. Everybody loves Omega. That is a guy that I don't hear anybody saying, yeah, you know, he's okay, whatever. You know, it's like everything he touches turns to gold. He's the anti-TNA, actually. So, I mean, bringing in Omega, bringing in Cody, I think Cody's done a great job in the resurgence of Bullet Club becoming cool again. And you're right. A year ago, we were making fun of those goofs that were wearing Bullet Club shirts. I don't know that I'll still wear one to an event, but it's actually become cool again to be a Bullet Club supporter. I think what people love about the Young Bucks is that they have that same gene that Shawn Michaels always had. And Shawn Michaels, disclaimer, my favorite of all time. But Shawn Michaels always knew that he was better than everybody else he was in there with. And Kevin Owens does the same thing. they'll wrestle, they'll spend the first couple minutes of the match just, fucking around or joking around or whatever. But then when they decide to turn it on, they can turn it on and be some of the best workers of all time. With the Young Bucks, they do it, that would be at house shows. I would see Shawn Michaels do that kind of shit at house shows. On TV, he was usually pretty serious. But the Young Bucks do it all the time, every match, whether it's TV, house shows, pay-per-view, whatever. They're fucking around the entire time, and the fans are just absolutely eating it up. And yes, they do turn it on, and yes, they're great wrestlers, and they do great stuff in the ring. But it's the fans, the smart fans of today are just eating that shit up. So it's good to see that they're making such a good living on the indies. I don't know if they'll ever need to or want to go to WWE. They might want their WrestleMania moment, I suppose, 10 years from now. But I tell you, good on them for making it as far as they are in the business and making it as paychecks that they are without having to go to WWE. So the question is, will it ever be uncool again to be Bullet Club? And I think the answer is yes, but it's just a matter of when. So at number 2 on our list of the top 10 news stories of 2017, we have the G1 Classic.
That's right, G1 Classic. 2 and 1's real close together because it has a lot. You'll see what the number 1 is. But G1 Classic to me was, Meltzer's calling it the greatest one ever. The thing about it is, and I've talked about this before, but always happens after the G1, but it seemed like it was worse this year. We're looking at January right now. The show ended in August. Even though I've watched some WWE TV. I haven't watched a lot of WWE TV or haven't watched a lot of New Japan. I've watched a little bit of Independence. It's almost like I've got, the G1 Blues in the sense I just watched the most awesome wrestling ever, and it's not ever going to get any better, so why the fuck should I watch wrestling? I mean, that's the way I felt for, 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, and I didn't do it like, I remember the last 2 years, I actually watched almost every G1 match, and I didn't do it this time. I didn't watch every one of them. But we had a special on it. It wasn't a really high downloaded, but we also did the G1 special, and we talked about how many great matches, not just by one guy, but there's just so many great matches in one tournament, and I think it just it just brought me down because it wasn't it didn't exist anymore anywhere else. But yeah, G1 tournament greatest ever, it has to be.
I would agree with that. I think it was the greatest one ever. And I did watch every match, at least every G1 tournament match. I'm with you as far as the 27-man tags. I can't watch that shit. So I just skip, usually the first hour of the show and go to the intermission and then watch the second half of the show, which is the tournament matches. But just phenomenal. I mean, it was amazing. And, I mean, that's whatever it was, 19 days worth of stuff spread out over 30 days of the calendar. But just an amazing, well booked. I mean, that's the thing that appeals to me, is the fact that the detailed booking keeps everything relevant for the entire 30 days. Everything is relevant. Everything is important. The guys, you can tell the guys take it so freaking seriously, and it shows. It shows not only in the booking, but it shows in the in-ring, obviously, with the obvious exception of the Yano stuff, which I understand why that's there, but otherwise it was 30 days of just off-the-chart stuff. As far as you're talking about the burnout factor, it definitely is real, because, I mean, I don't watch much New Japan after that until the January show, obviously, but I'll watch a little bit here and there, because you're right, it's a big commitment to watch that 30 days worth of stuff. And it's obviously time consuming, but I still can watch WWE, and I have to keep in mind that nothing is going to measure up to, Omega and Okada, that type of stuff, that we've been seeing in the G1. So G1, greatest ever in 2017. I'm pretty sure I can agree with that one. So that takes us very easily to saunter into the number one news story of the year, and that is simply the great match quality that we had this year.
I believe, I don't know if I could ever say that I've seen so many good matches, not only on video, but like I said, I went to Glory Pro. I think everyone has stepped it up to the sense that a lot of these indie shows that you watch, you're seeing anywhere from, and I've been a ratings guy for years, So you're looking anywhere, you're seeing 4-star matches, you're seeing close to 5-star matches, you're seeing in arenas that are holding 600 people or less. And you're seeing the guys just be, I mean, you got guys on the independent circuit, Ricochet, having unbelievable matches. You got Ospreay, in ROH. There's so many good guys that you can name that you've seen. So we could easily pick 25 matches that are 4 stars and above, and I just don't know if that's ever happened. The old timers are going to say, blah, 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 this match, that match. Guys, guess what? I loved Funk versus Lawler. I thought it was one of the greatest matches ever. I love Steamboat, Steamboat and Flair, Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll. I love all that shit. But this year, you'll be happy to say in 2017 that you were a wrestling fan and open your mind and watch a whole different version of everything that the Young Bucks. And if they're not voted Tag Team of the Year on anyone's list, it's because the person making the list just is jealous or something. Young Bucks they're not only the tag team. I'm going to say this because I've been a big, huge tag team art, but they bring up the level of matches when they're on a show. They are the greatest tag team ever, and I don't care what anybody fucking says. That's
bombshell news on Shootin The Shiznit.
I just put them above Midnight Express and Rock and Roll, and you know how much I love the Midnight Express. So.
Wait till Cornette is tweeting about that. Okay. Great match quality in 2017, led by Okada and Omega. It's interesting. It's symbolic that on January 4th a year ago, we got a 7-star match. And, it foretold the story of what this year was going to be. It gave us so much great wrestling. They did 48 minutes on January 4th. Then they did an hour draw in the middle of the year. And then the 30-minute Omega win in the G1. So, that series raised the bar. No Sheamus and Cesaro comment there, but that series raised the bar of what the expectations are now in indie wrestling, in New Japan, in WWE, in all of wrestling. We were treated to something that was really special, and I think, no disregard and no disrespect to Flair and Steamboat back in the day, because in that era, yeah, that raised the bar. But I think that this is now going to be looked at as being the trilogy of all time. This is they'll be saying that Steamboat and Flair was the Okada Omega of 1989 or 90 or whatever it was. So I think they just raised the bar and set the standard. But it's not just them. We had AJ Styles with fantastic matches. We had Naito and Ishii. I'm a huge Ishii mark. How many 4-star matches from that guy? And, I totally respect what you're saying about the Young Bucks, but you got the Usos and the New Day putting out some fantastic chemistry matches theirs as well. I'm not going to say they're the best in the business, but, they definitely had some really, really entertaining matches. The Hell in the Cell match and so on. You had Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate in the British stuff that the WWE did. You had Dante Fox and Killshot in Lucha Underground with that insane garbage match that they did on Ultima Lucha.
If you haven't seen that match, go out of your way to find it. It's
you got to find that. Yeah, it was a hell of a finish for Lucha Underground season this year. But yeah, just overall, the top news story for us in 2017 is the fact that as wrestling fans, if you couldn't find something to hang your hat on and give at least 4 stars to in this year, then you got no business being a wrestling fan, because this was the best year that I can remember. As far as on every show, you had stuff that was, just outstanding stuff in every promotion. You had great, great stuff to watch. So hats off to the quality of the boys and the girls too, for that matter, in 2017. Here's hoping that we have something that is just as good this year and injury free, and a lot of our favorite guys stay healthy all year, and we get just as much good quality in 2018.
All right. Hey, thanks everyone for joining us. Remember, same bat time, probably not the same bat channel. We'll be back next Tuesday for Shootin The Shiznit. I want a big thank you before I do my catchphrases. 664,415 people download, listen, touched me. Did something with Shootin The Shiznit this year. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the best little podcast, wrestling podcast in the business.